Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. We're continuing to work on the Cub Cadet Bush Hog project. First couple episodes in this series, we built a hydraulic Category 1 3-point hitch for a 1972 Cub Cadet Model 128, a gear drive tractor with a rear PTO. Past couple episodes, here's one of my German Shepherds here, Brew Brew. Past couple episodes, we built a bush hog, a 48-inch rotary mower. Actually, the cut is 46-inch, but basically a 4-foot bush hog. And last episode, where we left off, we had just fitted it up to the tractor and discovered that the power takeoff shaft, which has a female spline on the end, didn't match up with the 1 3/8-inch cylindrical input shaft on the gearbox for the rotary cutter. So that's where we are now. We're going to modify a spline extension and adapt it to the cylindrical input shaft on the gearbox and get this mower running and cut some grass. All right, so here's the problem. This is the input shaft to the gearbox is 1 3/8 and it's cylindrical, and the PTO here shaft is expecting a splined connection. So what I have here is what will wind up being an adapter. It is simply an extension. It has a female spline here and a male spline here, but the major diameter in here is 1 3/8. So we should be able to bore this spline out, and this should slide right over this input shaft. And we have a couple holes here, which with any luck, maybe not, it might line up with this hole, and that allows us to put a shear bolt. Probably have to bore this out and put a shear pin in here. We're going to go to the lathe and remove these splines on the inside of this adapter. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. That won't fit. So unfortunately, I don't have a large enough bore in my lathe chuck to chuck this. So I'm going to have to do it here on the mill. So I've got it clamped, the adapter clamped between a couple of V-blocks. I'm just going to check for location of the center, and then we'll check for parallel to the quill so that we bore it, straight down. Let me turn the mill on here. So there we are, centered. And I want to try to go up and down here. Oops. We can do this without getting my arm in the camera. All right, well, of course the arm hits the side there, but about an inch of travel, that's no deviation in that direction. Let's try it here. I mean, that's no deviation there. So over, 3/4 of an inch of travel, there's no deviation in the dial till the arm hits the corner there, and of course it goes. So based on this, I mean, my vise is trammed in, these V-blocks are square, they're clamped on the spline equally and evenly, so it's not surprising that it's vertical parallel to the quill. And so I think we're in good shape here to go ahead and get the boring head and bore this out. Would have preferred to do it on the lathe, but my lathe has limitations. So I'm going to reset my DRO to 0. Let me just double check that. Make sure I am still on 0 here. I think that's pretty close. Okay. Let's get back to X0 and Y at 0. So I have enough travel to do this. Yes, I do. All right, so that just clears the splines inside. Bring the quill down a little bit here. Adjust the cut. All right, just touching there. So we'll just take a light cut on the first one. Ten thousandths. Feeding up with the knee. Take another 10 thousandths. I'm working in small increments right now because I don't want to stress the setup too much. right, so I'm going for 1.375 and I'm at 1.32. So that's 50 thousandths on the diameter, or 25 thousandths. And I can still see splines in here, so I know we're not done yet. One point 347. So we'll take 10 more thousandths out of the radius. Just want to sneak up on the dimension. .371. So we've just got about 5 more thousandths to take off. 5 or 6. Need a couple thousandths clearance. Alright, that's 1.38. Alright, 1.378. 1.379, so it's about 5 thousandths. Alright, I'm going to say we're done. Alright, let's go see if it fits. Alright, so let's take a look and see how our bored out adapter fits. So you can see there's still a little bit of the splines left in the bottom. I think my boring bar bottomed out there on the center of the adapter inside. So I don't know, it shouldn't make any difference. All right, that's a good fit. Just enough movement to make it easy to go on. Now all we need to do is bore for a shear bolt. All right, that's latched on there. I did have to cut the shaft down a couple inches so that it would be collapsed short enough. I mean, it has a sleeve and a internal spline, and so they slide. It gets longer. I mean, it slides in and out. Most of you guys know that. So, but I couldn't get it short enough to get on the spline. So, I mean, there are times when you may have to deal with that, but you could do it as you back the tractor up. You could put it on, but then it's short. It's as short as it will go, potentially binding up. So you don't want that. You want it to have a little bit of slack in it, so that as it moves, it can move in and out a little bit between the two. You can't see them here. The outside spline, the inside spline. So, okay, that's proper length. I'm going to tape this safety cover back together. All right, so of course this plastic cover spins independently of the shaft inside. Its purpose is for safety, prevent entanglement in the shaft. I mean, people have been killed by farm tractor PTO shafts. If you happen to have a piece of loose clothing or long hair or something, and you're working on it, it's spinning, suppose you stop to clear something or pick something up off the ground. I don't know how it happens, but people get entangled in these. Of course, then it just wraps you around the I mean, it kills you, or damn near kills you. So you want, this is a safety cover, basically to reduce the risk of entanglement. All right. So now, last thing I need to do is a shear pin through here. And there's a hole through the shaft here. All right, so I put the adapter back in the mill and bored it all the way down to the bottom. There was about almost 1/4 of an inch still of splines left at the bottom. So got that all removed. That gives me a little more engagement on the shaft, and maybe we'll get one of these holes to line up with the existing hole. Well, not quite. not quite, this hole line up with this hole. Of course, this hole's much bigger. That's a 1/2 inch, looks like a 1/2 inch, you know, and this is 5/16 or something. So if I bore this out to 3/8, I think I would use a 3/8 inch bolt as a shear pin. I think a 1/2 inch bolt is too big. I think it would potentially damage the reverser before it's sheared here. So I think it's better off to err on the small side and put a smaller bolt in here. So the other problem is going to be it's going to be sloppy. Well, it may be best to drill a new hole through here, maybe 90 degrees from this one. Well, the other choice is to cut the end of this shaft off. I only need 1/4 of an inch, less than that, 1/8 of an inch. If I cut this shaft off, cut 1/4 of an inch off this shaft, well, then the problem would be whatever pin I put in there would rattle around in the larger hole, in that larger hole, unless I sleeved it. So many dilemmas. Decisions. I'm going to noodle on that for a while. Well, that's a hardened shaft. And the saw blade does nothing. Alright, so we're back to an abrasive cutoff wheel. All right, so that I cut that off 1/4 inch, and that allows this hole to line up with this hole. Now, probably Probably need to, I'm going to drill this out to 3/8 of an inch, and I'll probably sleeve this so there's not, you know, a lot of slop. If there's a lot of slop between the shear pin and this hole, then it'll just rattle back and forth and wear through the shear pin and mess up the hole, mess up this. So that's the best thing to do. All right, let's go drill this out to 3/8. All right, I've got the adapter here, using a, what is this? It is a 5/16 drill bit, just to get the hole aligned there. We'll switch it out for a 3/8 inch. Actually, a little bit of clearance. We'll go a 64th over 3/8, which would be what, 25 64ths. There's my brew. Yeah, there's my good boy. Are you being a good puppy? Why don't you sit? Yeah, that's a good boy. You're being my good boy. Give me that paw. There we go. All right, there's the other paw. There's the other paw. Nice puppy. All right, so this is the sleeve for the shear pin, 1/2 inch outer diameter, 3/8 inch ID. Let's see. I'm using kind of a cheap bolt on purpose here. I'd rather have it shear than, at least initially till I get to use it some, before I upgrade to like a grade 5 or grade 8. This is like a grade 2. It's just we'll see. I don't know how it will hold up. But, I mean, as long as I'm just cutting grass, unless I hit something, it should work fine. All right. So we're good there, I'm going to say. Alright, so this is my attempt to resolve the issue with the anti-sway linkage. When it was attached up here to the eye bolt, with these arms lift up, the chains which are crossed underneath might interfere with the PTO shaft. But my thought now is that by using a bracket like this, which puts the connection point down 4 inches, will, even if the arm comes up, the chain won't hit the PTO. All right. To me, that's the easiest fix. That way it gives me the long enough chain so that I have some movement back and forth, and it's at a relatively conservative angle as opposed to a very steep angle. It's a shallow angle, about 45 degrees. So, you know, it should work this way. Now, ultimately, I may need to change the length of this drop link, you know, or the length of the chain. I don't know yet. But this is my, at least, interim solution to the issue with the chains crossed interfering with the PTO. I ultimately need to wire all these shackles so they don't come undone. All right, we'll see how that works. I understand that this may pivot on this bolt. That's a possibility. But, you know, the worst case is this nut back here rubs the tire, and it's not going to cause any damage. It's just inconvenient. Unless it does it continuously. Couple of new foot pads. So I get slag on, this is the, the top surface, the finished surface. I get slag on here because I cut it with that side down because this is smooth and you want the torch to have a smooth surface. And these are mirror images of each other. Getting these to line up, a little bit of a challenge. All right, but that worked out fine. Okay, let's go around and do the other side. So this is 6mm. Got my jug of gear oil here. It's got to be 30 years old. It's beginning to come out there. Alright, so here's just a walk around the tractor. I think I'm going to need to revisit the tail wheel. It's too small. But it'll work for today, I think. All right, so it's working. The PTO engages, the bush hog comes up to speed, seems to work fine. I did learn a little bit about the transmission though. It's not a live PTO like I'm used to on, for example, my Kubota or my Ford 2000. Once you engage the PTO and let off the clutch, if you're in neutral, it spins up, sitting there fine. If you put the clutch in, try to go into gear, you really can't because you've got the transmission spinning because the PTO is engaged, or at least the output shaft is. So you have to wait for the bush hog to coast down in order for that to stop, to get it into gear. So the answer is to push the clutch in, put it in the gear you're going to operate in, put the PTO, engage the PTO, let the clutch out, and both are going at the same time. Now you can let the clutch out a little bit and get the PTO moving, and there's a lot of inertia in the blade assembly and gearbox on the bush hog, so you got to let it spin up a little bit gradually, and then you take off and you're driving and this bush hog's spinning up and you're mowing. So I made a couple loops around the yard here. I know it's probably really hard to tell on the camera. I mean, this is middle of January, so there's no grass really to cut. I got some leaves on the dead grass here, so can't really demonstrate it doing a lot of cutting until next summer, but at least I can drive it around. Now I did notice that the front wheels are very light. I have not much steering capability, so I definitely need to put some weight on the front of the tractor, which I'll work on that. And then the tail wheel is not right, so it doesn't caster. The wheel may be too small, not sure exactly, maybe need a larger diameter wheel as well. So I think I'm going to work on all those things. So I got two things: one, tail wheel, some work on that, and weights for the front of the tractor. So a couple more items to work on, but overall I would say success. It worked. The PTO output shaft works. I mean, the bush hog works. So a couple refinements for the overall setup, and I'll be ready for cutting some grass next summer. All right, so we're gonna head back up to the shop, pull the tractor back in so we can work on it. That's my butch. Yeah. That's my butchy boy. There's this. They're all excited because the doors are open. Alright, they're playing. Alright guys, it's going to be a wrap for this episode. First time taking the bush hog out, running it around the backyard. There's really no grass to cut because it's the middle of January. Stirred up the leaves a little bit, but the bush hog did operate. I think pretty much as I expected or as I'd hoped. So really no problems there. PTO worked fine. The lift worked fine. Two issues I did have, minor things. One is the tail wheel. I think it needs to be bigger and it needs to caster more easily, so it would tend to dig in a little bit. And the other is the front of the tractor, as we discussed last time, is light because picking up the weight of the bush hog behind it. So I do need to add some front weights. So, Brew, come here. My German Shepherd here, trying to sneak out the door. I got the door open because of ventilation. So, I would say 90% success. Functionally, everything works except the tail wheel's a little wonky, so can fix that. And some weight for the front of the tractor will definitely help. I mean, you could use it as it is, but it's not. There are times when it's pretty tough to make. You can't make a sharp turn because there's not enough weight on the front wheels. So we'll take care of those items. We'll come back next week working on those. I think got an idea for the tail wheel, pretty simple, just I think a larger diameter wheel and a little more angle on the caster, and I need to do something about the way it pivots, so make that easier to pivot. So I have to figure out the best way to do that. So alright, we'll address those things. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are subscribed, please check and see if you're still subscribed, because I see YouTube statistics showing groups of people being unsubscribed, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not the only one that's seeing that, so just double check, make sure you're still subscribed, and we'll see you guys next time.